Hello, I'm Tarn, a producer here at Nifty. I'm in the middle of giving the Barbie DreamHouse a more grown-up makeover. So far, I've already completed the living room and the bedroom. Now, it is time to tackle the next most requested room. We're making over the kitchen/dining area. I personally love cooking for myself and other people, so I associate food with warm, cozy feelings. This current setup we're looking at, however, feels a bit cold to me. So today, I'm going to attempt to make it feel more like a space I would want to eat, cook, and host in. So I went into this without really any clear vision. I just know I wanted to focus on transforming the furniture we were given with the original dream house instead of building a bunch of new pieces. Aside from that, I was just gonna try to make the most of what supplies I can find and just wing it. The first project is inspired by this orb I found, but it reminds me a lot of this twine orb tutorial from the early days of Nifty. It was once part of a dried flower bouquet. It's now getting a new life as a teeny tiny chandelier. I did not want to drill in the ceiling to hang the light, so I glued one magnet to the light and one to the ceiling so that I can just stick them together like this. The next project is not as exciting, but it is easy and it makes a big impact. I took out this panel from the wall and covered the upper half with a stock image that I printed out. I think this gives the illusion of a tile backsplash. It instantly brings the kitchen together. I mentioned earlier that I love sharing food with people, so this two-seater situation is not ideal. I remember a tip from this video that Hitomi made with Rie. I think it is genius and we are going to do it. Building a bigger table was surprisingly not that hard. I found this plate for $4. I think this hole is meant for soy sauce. Anyway, it resembles a nice raw cement tabletop, which is totally cool and grown up in my book, so we're going to replace the current round tabletop with it. For the bench, I am using a piece of craft wood, and for the legs, I am using some wooden blocks. They're the kind that is meant for children to play with. We use these to style kids' room. But using these blocks is actually much easier than cutting legs out of scrap wood, especially if you don't have the proper tools. We have to give the bench a cushion. I found an old pillowcase I could use, but it was blue, and I didn't want to use blue again because we've used so much blue in the living room and the bedroom. Instead, I am attempting to change the color with bleach and also try to give it a tie-dye look. If you want more control over the pattern, you can also use a bleach pen to draw on the pattern. Then I rinse it off, let it dry. I love the resulting color, even though the pattern is super subtle. I think the color goes well with the stock image that we use for the backsplash. It also reminds me of a color that my mom would wear a lot, so it's good. The next project is not a crucial part of the makeover, but was just too adorable to pass up. I wanted to give this kitchen a human touch with a dainty little paper towel made out of paper towel. The best part was that I was able to repurpose one of the pink dishes that came with the house and use it as the base of the paper towel holder. I took a cue from the popular mid-century modern trend and tried to create a plant stand. I had some tiny succulents left from another project, and I think it is a great way to add life to this room. It might not look like much, but I love it, even with the wonky leg and all. We can't have a kitchen without some tiny cookware. So I turned this empty container into a Dutch oven. I molded the handles out of air-dry clay and painted them with a paint pen. I also made a pan, but turns out this Dutch oven was already very large and took up the entire stovetop. When I picture a grown-up dining room, there is a big piece of art on the wall. So I wanted to give this room an abstract, expensive-looking piece of art. Alcohol ink is a bit more fun and unpredictable than your typical run-of-the-mill watercolors. You just kind of sprinkle them on and let them do whatever they want. You can blow on them with a straw. It's kind of hard to know when you've done enough, but they're fun. I could do this all day. In fact, I ended up making a second one. This time, I tried applying some water on the paper before applying the ink. It makes the ink look a lot softer. I put a poll up on Instagram asking which one people think looked more like a kitchen wall art. Most people said the bottom one, but you see, my mom was one of the few people who voted for the top one. And it was almost Mother's Day at this point of filming, so I had to go for her choice. For the final touches, I wanted to change the fridge. I have a very particular fridge in mind that I love. It looks vintage, comes in fun colors, and has rounded edges. If you know, you know. To do this, I just covered the current fridge door in cardstock so that it can still open. I used a few pieces of cardboard underneath the cardstock because the original fridge door had some handles that would cause the paper to crease if we were to just apply it directly on. I also added some trims on the side off camera to hide the cardboard layer. Finally, we're just giving the front door a lighter shade of pink, a nod to the original Barbie pink, just a little more grown up. So, there you have it. The dream kitchen / dining room all grown up. Even though I did not have too many ideas when I started, I absolutely loved how this turned out. I love how cozy and inviting this room looks. This might be my favorite room so far. What do you think? Should I keep making more? Guess what? I actually already did, and it's coming next week. So meanwhile, take good care of yourself. Let me know how you're doing. How are you planning to treat yourself this weekend?